Alright, these are mud fossils, and this, and this are from a giant hand that I have the palm for it. And the palm is this part of the palm right up to here. There's a bunch of fingers. Well, I haven't excavated the whole thing, and I'm sure they're all there. It's all in one piece, more or less. Some of it's heavily eroded, and some of it's almost like new. This is a little more eroded, and if you look at that, you can see that black stain there is what's called the carbon film of the bone, and it's really actually iron, to be honest with you. It's ferritins from the bone, and there's the vein and artery, and that's where the artery blows out on the side and at the top, and the vein side is clamped off in in all of the clamped areas and down here, because that's the way veins are. And you see that's what happens with the iron. It leaches through you know, cellular material, which that's what this is. Now, that's that finger. That's I believe this type of thing. That's the tip of a finger. There's been CAT scans. There's really no question about it. I show this in the other ones. The bone is right there. You can see the impression of the bone. That's actually the pads of your thumb. If you look at your thumb, it has, and feel, it has those same pads, and then those. This is where the ligaments invest. You see that angular spot there. The apical tuft is right up there with all the holes, and I showed all this in the other one. So, and you could see the fibrous nature of all of these things. You see these little white spots and stuff. Now that is the knuckle, and I show that on the other one, and you can see the actual fibers of the muscle, and you see the actual tendinous material. You see that's the muscle fibers right there. And I could show you that in the anatomical drawings, and that's what it is. Now there's 3 tendons that come down here, and one of them runs right off this way, and it's in the anatomical drawings, and there's the muscle tissue. And the muscle tissue is this red bloody stuff, and that is that real dense mineralized, it's actually mineral. It's your connective tissues in your body. So, and they break off at that abrupt transition where it goes from tendon to towards a muscle. And there's several transitions in there. Some of them break easy, you know. Well, they break in these exact same spots every time, and they are abrupt. Sometimes it flat as a pancake. Now that is the bone ball is right under. Whoops. The bone ball is right under here. Is the bone ball. See, this side's very eroded. Obviously, you can see that. But that would have had the same situation. You see all that red stuff that was down there? That's the rust that's within the iron. That's within. You see, there's some more rust. It's within the tissues. Is your blood? That's iron. FeO3 is the red blood, has extra oxygen, O3. FeO2 is the vein blood. It is depleted. Now, here's what I want to show you something here. All these things have a fabric. Now, you see that fabric there? You see this angle? Right there? Whoops. There's an out of focus or somewhere. Let me see. Let's see if I can bring this in a little closer and you can get a better look at this. Now, that is the fabric that wraps right around. It's like it wraps right around, and they don't find this on any of the other bones. I don't think anybody really even knows it wraps in this nature. But I have found this on all my bones. That they wrap, because this is, I believe they call it the periosteum, or it's the fascia, whatever you want to call it, but it's a coating that wraps the bones. The Greeks used to call it the tunica. And if you look at it closer, you can see all the little mineralization and the fibers and all that business. In the microscope, it's very apparent, and you know, I mean, it's obviously what it is. And inside that hole there, you see that little hole? That is the ligament, and that attaches to the other bone, and they hold them together so they don't fall apart. You don't fall apart in your body. And all those little tiny holes in there are what I'm showing is they call them the giant stone balls. The little balls go in here, and then the fibers go out to the ligament, to the other ligament. But they're fibers, they're little like strings that go across, rubber bands really, and they're they're not very rubbery. They give, well, I think about maybe 2 or 3% tops. Now you see the bone is missing in there. This is what happens in mud fossils. Hold on. Mud fossils have no bones. You know, your dirt fossils, they're in the dirt. They have bones because they're in the dirt. Now, these, and they have no tissue because they're in the dirt. And the animals eat them and everything else. All that's left over is the scraps. And that's what they go looking for in the dirt. They should be looking in the mud, and that's where I look. I play in the mud. That is the fascia. Now, this gets very interesting because there's fascia on every bone. They all have these, and it's the exact same stuff as this, and it creates a pattern, and I'm going to show you that pattern in a minute. It's the pattern on the back of this. Now, if you could see that little stripe there, you see that? Hold on. See that stripe down there? This is where the bone is over here. They all have that stripe running down there. Now, that stripe is in all of these other bones, and it is in the Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Rock. Whoops, I almost mistook. And there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen, the Rosetta Rock. And that is that flap. You see that? Could not be more clear. Absolutely couldn't be more clear. Now, I'm going to show you all kinds of rocks that have that same architecture because they're bones. And when you find out, this is going to be literally the most important stone that's ever been found. And it is, because this demonstrates every single type of tissue and crystallization that you can imagine. I'm saying this is one body part. You see this? Look at that. You ever seen anything like that? No. How about that? No. This? You see the way that's strapped in there? That is these. You see this? What's this black thing here? What you know about that strap? What's this big round thing here? Look at that big glob there. You see that's another one of these straps. It comes around, and this big chunk here, well, that's kind of strange. Look at that. What's all that shiny looking, gold looking stuff in there? And underneath, look at this. You ever seen anything like that? That's the bottom. Isn't that strange? Now that is all one rock, and I'm saying that's all one biological thing. And I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly how it formed, and I will explain that to you in a second. Alright, before we get too deep into the Rosetta Rock, I want to just show you, I mean, I've shown these things before. This is actual muscle and meat and the fascia and the connective tissue, and that's the fascia flap that invests this thing. Now, then I'm going to go into some toes here. Now, this is, let's start with one that's not completely decomposed, but quite a bit. Now, you see this blackish looking shiny stuff? Hold on, let me put a little water. You always like to put a little bit of water on things. It gives you just a smidge of a coloration and so forth. You see all these fibers? You see those little red spots in it? Let me get something I can point with. Alright, look carefully at the red spots. See those little red spots with the holes in them all over the place? And that fibers. You see this lamination and this sort of scruffy looking stuff. And you see this at the bottom? That fibrous looking, tough looking stuff. Alright, remember that. Now that's a toe. And it's not very deteriorated, actually. Now, here we get to one that's a little more deteriorated. Alright, you see that? That's the toenail. And you see that red stuff? That's the blood that is underneath your toenail. Exactly the same thing. And you see this? And you see that right there? That's the guy's callus on the side of his toe. He really should have taken better care of that. That's kind of nasty. And you see all this shiny stuff? It's metals. There's metal. What it is in your, you see, look, see? In your body, there's certain places and tissues that have to do a lot of work and a lot of tough stuff. You see, that's really cool. And that's in your toes and your fingers and your grip skin, they call it, where your skin has to grip things and grab and do tough stuff. It's got to be really tough. In your wrists and things, not quite so bad. But that's a toe. Now, and that one there is a little more deteriorated. The finger, the toenail has gone bad. You know, has deteriorated. And what you end up with is a silicon in the toenail. And that's his callus. Now let's go to one that's a little more deteriorated. Here's one that's gone further. And this is what they call transitioning. These stones were originally creatures, and they were walking around consuming oxygen just like you and me. And then they, of course, died and were encapsulated in the ground. Now, as they transition, which means they go from gooey organic matter, and they transition into stone minerals. And that right there was his toenail. And now you can see it's all mineralized into the toenail, and that is going to be, again, that a silicon. And that's the top of his, foot. And they will blow out, usually, veins and arteries off the sides. Now you see how it's all layered like that? That's just the way you're built. You're built in layers. And you see those black spots? This would be the vein side. And the vein side has black blood, and this side will have the red blood. You see the reddish looking stuff? And that's the way you're built. One side shoots the blood in, and one side sucks the blood back up. Okay? Now, so that one there is deteriorated. Now here's one that's deteriorated a smidge more. You see the guy, here's his toenail. Isn't that something? And look at the little red spots. That's where the blood was. And that's the tip of his toe. And this guy didn't have quite as bad of a callus. I don't know, maybe this is his little toe for all I know. But you see, then again, you get the black and the red. But this has deteriorated, and almost all the organics have what they call sublimated. Sublimation means that everything has is a molecule and an atom, and as the atoms get more and more dense, they get more and more. Let me put it this way: the light atoms, hydrogen and so forth, those just evaporate, and that's called, and they go up the line as they evaporate. So longer duration, more and more temperature, and then you get more and more transition into mineral. And now we're getting into mineral where it's really mineral. Now that's another toe. It's a toe. And that was where the toenail was. It's eroded away. There's some blood left on there. And there's the bottom. That's all that. And you'd see that right there. That's where the guy's artery was. You see a little red spot? And it's the vein right there. That's where the vein is. Hold on a second. Hold me a minute. And this one here is another toe. Now remember I talked about that strap. You see this? There's that strap. Right there. It's the same damn strap. And there's your vein and artery in the back there. And this is also a toe. But look at how mineralized that is now. That's almost down to nothing but quartz. And this is what happened. People say, oh, how could that happen? Well, that's the transition process. Now, sometimes they will go into silicon. And I can't really guarantee, I can't tell you exactly why this happens. I'm trying to figure it out. But you see this? That's another finger or a toe. And the vascularization goes in here. and you end up with the silicon. You see those little red spots? Those are the little blood vessels that were in the other ones. You see them? They're white looking in here. But if I put some water on there, they turn pinkish. You can see a little hole in the center of them. That's what they are. Now, then sometimes they even go worse. They get down to this, which is like shiny all the way down to, whoops, almost completely silicon. That is very strange. That I need to investigate. But I see the red. You see the red in there? Whoops, you see the red in there? Those are toes or fingers or whatever. I mean, one or the other. That is the signature of life. I'm just telling you what it is. Now we're going to look at the Rosetta Rock. Now that you know that all of these things are true, hopefully, that I'm telling you, let's look at the Rosetta Rock. Alright, once again, I don't know what you can see. My eye's pretty trained at this, but that is a seam, and that's a seam. That is this triangular wrap that wraps right around there of tunica, fascia, whatever you want to call it. You see those lines? And this is a fingertip. That's a fingertip, I'm telling you. And that's where the bone is. You see the bone right there? Right. And this is, we're down into the basement layer of skin. And this is the apical tuft ball. And here's one that has eroded all the way down to the apical tuft and the ball alone. And right there, there's you can see if you look real careful, there's a vein and artery in the end here that service this little bone. And that's what is in there. And then all these little tuberosities, these little holes, you see the little black spots? Those are where these little tendinenthesis balls insert, and that holds your fingers and your tendons so they can pull around. Now, and that's that same ball. See it? That's exactly identical. Identical to this, only it's, you know, a little bit, this would have been a little bit bigger specimen. Anyway, so that's the finger, and that's the deep basement layer. And the other stuff had a little more flesh, a little less flesh. Now, here we go into the Rosetta Rock. Now, let's take a quick look at this, because it is, I think, spectacular. Now, that, if you can see, is that wrap that I talk about. You know, this has deteriorated to a point, and this is a big toe, and it has all the wrap, it has the toenail, it has the callus, it has the skin that's on the inside of your big toe, it's all that wrinkly, scuzzly looking skin. It has the artery and the veins on both sides, see? Now, look at this. You can see that seam that I talked about. Alright, see it? It's right there. Alright, now, that seam is the same seam as in this one. You see it? That's the same seam. Isn't that something? The same seam. Now, that is the way it works. Now, over here, there's another seam. You see? As it wraps around, it makes its own seams here and there. And over here, the same thing. There's a seam going across here. Now you're looking at it and you say, look at all these kind of things. This is all crazy. Well, I understand all this. These are the tendon straps that come around and they invest right in there like that into this apical tuft. Of course, is bigger in there. But those come around, and see these holes? They come around and they snap right in there. And that's what lets you move your finger around. The tendons pull up and down. Now, so that's those tendon balls, and they invest, and you can see the fibers. The fibers are the grip skin that's on the bottom of your finger, or, well, on your toe in this case. That's his callus. This guy has a bad, nasty callus, you know. Look at that thing. Now, and it's all what they call cornified. It's all bumpy and cornified and nasty. And you see these metals and things that are in here? And see that's another one of the seams. Right there, we're invested and seamed up. And this is all the metals and things that every part of your skin does a different job. It's just incredible the way your body is built. And the calluses are there to protect you against things. The toenail, which, oops, is now turned into this black stuff. You notice how all the other toenails were black. Well, that's what it is. And it didn't, and that's running straight up here. You see that? And that's the toenail right here. And here's the red stuff that would be underneath it, and that blood blows out of there. That's just the nature of toes and fingers. They're completely flush with blood. Now, this right here, you see this black stuff? You see, well, how the heck did that get there? Now, this is literally part of the guy's body. That didn't just fall over there. That is the vein blood. You see this here, the black? The vein is right there, and over here. Now, on this side, you have the red blood. You see it, the reddish looking stuff? That's where the arterial side is. You see? And here's that seam again. There's a seam. All right, and this has the arterial side, and that's why it's reddish looking. And the vein side is always black looking. Now look at this. So now we've seen you got your toenail, you got your cornified callus skin, you got your fingertip skin with the grip skin with all of the fibers in here. You see that? There's another seam right there. You see, you're built out of seams. Not serious. Now, look at this. I never saw anything like this. This is so cool. Now, you see that? Look at that. That is the same skin that's on the inside of your big toe. It's a kind of a scruffy looking, bumpy skin. You know, it's just a different sort of skin. That's on the inside of your toe. So now you got that. Then now on the bottom of your toe you have a pad. That's a pad on the back of your toe. You get the same thing. There's a pad. It's heavily mineralized, and then down here you have all the grippy skin that does everything. Now there's mica in here, and mica is from the blood. It's crystallized blood. There's garniferous stuff in here, all the little red garniferous things all over here and there. There's all kinds of stuff in here. There's all kinds of metals. There's, which is your body is made to work with transition metals. If you didn't have transition metals, your body would not work. That's just the nature of life. Now, the vein and so forth, and that flap of skin is back here. See, this is what's coming out of the vein side. See the black? That's the vein blood. And there's your vein. And that was your artery over here, and the artery blood came out of here. And the remnants of the bone are still inside of here. That's what it is. Now, and you see how everything is like layered and sectioned, and there's lines and blockiness. I mean, it's incredible. I never thought that life was like that. It is. The whole life is nothing but just a bunch of like Lego blocks. They're all built in blocks. It's incredible. I don't know what to say, but that's the way it works. Now, I guess that's all I got to tell you. But that's, I think this is going to be the most important rock ever found. Because, I mean, you can see the architecture, I mean, the anatomy is there. There's no question what this thing is. Now, what are the minerals that we want to find out now? Because science is completely missing the boat with how to find out about the human body. Because the human body works with transition molecules. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand what the body needs to work. And I'm going to show you why I say that. Hold on one second. Alright, here's the reason I say they're missing the whole entire boat on actually medical information, because you can see what's going on here. This is a heart, and that heart has been opalized, and what that means is it's been soaked in blood until it petrified. And the reason I say it was soaked in blood until it petrified is because of the transition metals that are in blood, which are the reason that your body functions as transition metals. They have to be in there, and they have to be in the right condition, and they have to be in the right concentrations. Now, I can prove that by just looking at this. All you got to do is look at this. Now, look. These are the heartstrings. You see these little things? They call them the heartstrings. You see the color that they are? You see the red it's the blood. You see the ventricle and the aorta things and all of the tubing and the ventricle walls and all that business. They have to be a certain color, which means that they are looking for a certain transition metal, which means that if that transition metal isn't there, and this was yellow instead of blue, you got a problem. You're going to be sick. They don't even look for that. Why don't they figure a way of looking for this in the colors that these particular tissues radiate? Because if they took and looked at that and they could tell what color that thing was radiating under some sort of a light, that they could bounce back and get the reflection back and say, okay, that means there's deuterium in there or something, I don't know, whatever it is. But they can tell these things. I'm sure there's a way they can do that. Run a little scope inside you with a little light, it bounces something in there and says boop, and it comes back and it says, hey, that's not blue, it's yellow. Okay, so holy smokes, it's yellow, the guy's missing titanium in his body. I'm telling you, that is the key that's going on. All these things are so specific, and instead they say, well, the heart's bad. You say, well, what's the matter with the heart? Well, it's an enlarged heart. And I said, well, what did that? Well, I don't know. It's a restrictive valve, hypertension, scooby-doo. It's crazy. Well, look at what's going on there. Look at... Anyway, nobody even look at the mud fossils. Why should they look at that? But this is my point, is there's so much to be known by observing these mud fossils. I have anatomical models that exceed anything that anybody has. And I know what they are, and I know what everything in the body and how it's built together. I know more about anatomy than any doctor that walks the face of the planet right now. I'm telling you, that's a fact. I have the anatomical, I do autopsies of things that are the exact same things that they're working on, but they're a ball of gush when they're working on. I'm working on them in this condition. And they should pay attention to this, because there is a lot to understand, and they are missing the whole boat on transition metals, and I'm going to close the case on it. Last word.